What's up, everybody? Welcome to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and we're back again with another Friday stream where we get together as a community and talk about whatever it is I've come up with for the week, and this week is no exception. First of all, Happy New Year. It's 2025, and we've been at this System Crafters thing since 2020, if you can believe it. So this is now... it's the 5th calendar year that we've been doing System Crafters. Kind of interesting to consider that. Not exactly the 5th year entirely, but I don't know. Maybe we're close enough to that to be able to say it. But thank you all for being here. Appreciate you all being here today. Looking forward to chatting with you all about generally what we could be doing in 2025 that would be interesting to you and to all of us as the System Crafters community. But before I get into all that, first of all, let me say hello to the folks who are here so far over in the chats. Let's see. I see John Hamelick. I saw Glenneth before. SLS, Yele. Cal, Alternate Ved. Dave. Let's see. Jeff, Eric. Auntie. Adi. Not sure how to pronounce that one. And let's see who is here over on the YouTube side. I see Jerry, Ashraz, and Mike. Mike says, I can't wait to get back to IRC. I guess we still got to get you... your GPG keys set up correctly so you can get an IRC. Happy New Year to you as well, Eric. Yele says, Dutch expression, good things let themselves be waited on. Yes, because the stream is late, I guess. Always late. I mean, what was I doing? I was trying to fiddle with this stupid light here, make it stay on, because for whatever reason, I think it fell over at some point and the cable shorted out, so I just have to keep jamming the cable back into the body of the light so that it stays on. Because, you know, nobody wants to have the flickering... abandoned subway light vibe going on in the stream here, so gotta fix stuff right there before the beginning of the stream. Hello to Paul and to Pizza Torque and Justin. Justin says, I would really appreciate it if you can show how to publish to ELPA or MELPA. Well, that's a good thing to add to the list of things we'll be discussing in a moment here, so thanks for the suggestion, and remind me of that, because I'll put it in the list. Let's see. Cal says, the usual conundrum, either YouTube is glitching or David is late. I'm late. That's the way it goes, right? I try to be on time. I was sitting in my chair before the stream time started. I just had distraction, as usual. Let's see. Most likely both are starting right now. Expletives, says Cal. Yes. Mellow greetings from Jeff. Omar says, my JPM patch has not merged yet since September. Yeah, Geeks patches can take a while to get addressed. I don't know if you've been bugging people in the Geeks chat room on LibreChat, but you should try that, because usually whenever I am waiting for a while to hear back on patch, I just go bug people there. Trev says, did Santa bring you a new Geeks hat? No, I destroyed the previous one so badly that I don't think anybody is going to give me another one at this point. When I say when nobody's going to give me another one, I mean my wife, who bought me the previous one for Christmas last year. You know, wearing it at the beach this summer was not a good idea. I regret it. And now the hat is kind of destroyed. It's disgusting. So, yeah. Not getting another Geeks hat until I can learn how to take care of hats better. This hat never leaves the room, so at least that one doesn't get screwed up. But the Geeks hat, sadly, has all but perished to my poor life choices. Hello to Fade. Justin says, I wrote an Emacs extension that uses LLM for filling in the middle completion. I would like to share it with everyone. That sounds interesting. Hello to Roberto. Happy New Year. Hello to Arnaud. Okay. So let's get to the news, aside from the fact that it's a Happy New Year, let's just start off with that. Happy New Year again to everyone. I hope that you all have an excellent 2025. Mine's off to a great start. Basically doing the same things I do all the time, which is sit at the computer all day and think about ways to entertain you with stupid computer tricks. It's just the way it is. It's fine. I enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. And maybe we'll do a lot more of it this year. I also hope that you all had a very nice holiday season. Mine was filled with family and food and drink and all the things that go along with that. So it was great. It was really nice. Nice to get some time off to hang out with the family. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back into the regular schedule again because, life is better whenever you have a rigidly followed daily schedule that keeps you feeling comfortable. Maybe it's just me as a person who's probably ADHD feeling like a daily schedule or rigid schedule is the right thing to do. Hey, what can I do? Maybe some of you can relate to that. I don't know. For me, just having the unstructured time of a day whenever you're on holiday it grates on the psyche a little bit at times. All right. So Happy New Year. As I said, we'll be talking more about the year as we go through the stream today. What's more interesting, actually, though, to talk about today is that Glenneth has made quite a lot of progress on discourse.el, which is a package for interacting with discourse forums from Emacs. And he's put a post up on the forum about this, and he used, wow, I'm streaming myself inside the browser. He used, I believe he used his own package to post this. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the idea is that you should be able to go to the System Crafters forum using Emacs and both read and create posts and also comment on posts. So I haven't actually tried this yet because I haven't had time yet, but I highly recommend people go check it out if you're interested in using the System Crafters forum from within Emacs, because I think up until now there has not been a client that would give you access to the forum. Glenneth is confirming in the chat that he did post this using his package, which is great. So obviously you can post emojis using the package. Features implemented: category listing and navigation, topic viewing with proper formatting, reply functionality with markdown support, cool. Proper cross-site request forgery token handling for API requests, clean buffer management and UI. And the current focus is working on improving the user experience with better error handling, intuitive key bindings, markdown preview support, topic creation. And then also we're going to add topic creation functionality, implement search capabilities, profile viewing, support for private messages. So if this sounds cool to you, go to Glenneth's Discourse Emacs repo on Codeberg, and I believe that there are instructions for how to try it out. You can use package vc install to install it directly from the Git repo. You can use packages for that, of course, or you can just clone it yourself and then add it to your load path and load it up. So if you are interested, give it a shot, but also, more importantly, file issues for things that you see that need to be added or improved, or contribute to the project by making changes and submitting them as pull requests to this project, because I'm sure that Glenneth would be happy to have your help. I did see some nice comments from Ashraz providing some suggestions here in the thread. So that's nice. You can also provide suggestions here in the thread as well, but probably the better place to track issues would be on the Codeberg repository. So give that a look, and also give it a star on Codeberg. I'm not signed in at the moment, otherwise I would do that. But yeah, check it out, and maybe it will lead to some more people contributing on the forum. I actually need to do more of that this year, so I'll probably be using the package too. I would rather be in Emacs doing this than in a web browser. So kudos to Glenneth for all the hard work on that. Really cool to see him taking off as a bona fide open source hacker in the last year. Lastly, the Sprightly Institute is having a fundraiser. I've been mentioning this the last few weeks. The Sprightly Institute, if you don't already know, because I've talked about them a million times on the channel so far, is a research institute that is focused on developing the future of distributed apps and decentralized communities, basically using kind of like futuristic technology, I guess you could say, surrounding the object capability protocol. I'm not sure the exact name. Dave will have to correct me on that. But it is a lot of really cool work that's being done actually in Scheme, or in Guile Scheme specifically. So I'm really excited about all the things they've been working on, and they're having a fundraiser so they can continue working on all this cool stuff within the next year. There's 4 weeks left for the fundraiser. They've gone about 3/4 of the way through all the donations that have been given so far, which is awesome. You can do one-time donations, or you can, let's see, where is the link? Donate. You can become a monthly sponsor for what they do there, and there's some rewards that come in with that. But I've mentioned this a couple times before. If you have an employer that does matching donations, you can do one-time donation and have your employer match that as well, which is a pretty cool option for helping them out. Because this is a 501c3, where does it say that? Whatever the designation is for a nonprofit, Sprightly is one of those. So you can have your employer also donate to Sprightly, which would be a really cool thing to do. So if you're interested in seeing next generation decentralized communities and the technology that will enable those, especially in Scheme or Lisp in general, definitely support the Sprightly Institute. They're good friends of ours, so definitely check that out. Dave's giving a link to the donation page in the chat, and I've got it in the show notes as well. If you go to the description below, there's a link to the show notes, and that will be there. My pleasure, Dave. So that's it for the news, I think. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Did I miss anything else? Is there anything else really happening in the world right now? I mean, everybody's kind of recovering from the holiday hangover. You know, all of the well-wishing and merriment that's been going on for the past month or two. I'm over it. I'm sorry to say, I'm over it. So let's just get back to it. Let's get back to the crafting. Let's talk about what we want to do in 2025 and just move on. Dave says, you did a great job describing what we do. Well, thank you, because I feel like I just bumbled my way through that. Let's see, what else are we saying in the chat here? Trev says, let's smother Glenneth with issues and PRs. I'm sure that Glenneth would be, well, let me think of a better phrase than the one that I just thought of. He would be very satisfied to see a lot of people commenting on what he has been working on. Eric says, NN Discourse would be good. Is that like a news group front end to Discourse? It probably would work out pretty well. Let's see. Ashra says, interesting additional categories on the SC Discourse there. What did I show? What categories are we talking about? I don't know. Let's see. First day, Omar says, my first day running IRC and Emacs thanks to you. That's cool. Great. IRC and Emacs is great, actually. It's really good. Announcements to the guild on the left-hand side. The guild. Oh, okay. It's locked. Yes, that is for the guild, which I'll probably talk about as we go through this. Cal says, for a good time, alt.comp.system.crafters. Does that exist? Probably not. Thank you, LeftPad. And LeftPad says, you're welcome. Yes, thank you, LeftPad, for destroying the internet. LD says, sounds good. I want to learn eLisp in 2025. That's the future. eLisp? I don't know. Maybe. Definitely. Eric prefers old style news groups to forums. I really should go back and check out news groups because I never really did get in on the news group wave. I was a little bit late. Hey, Nicolas. Happy 2025. And also, hello to Minas Mezar, and happy MMXXV to you and everyone else as well. All right, I'm just checking the chat here. All right, cool. And Ashra says, will you accept patches per mail? I don't have a Codeberg account. I'm sure that Glenneth will accept patches via email. All right. So, today, let me turn off the visible bell so that Trev doesn't yell at me. I'm sure it was Trev who was yelling, and if it wasn't Trev, it was alternate Ved. Either is fine. Okay, it's off now. Yes, Trev is laughing. I remembered, okay? By the way, where's Case? Why am I not being kicked and banned from my own channel? Hello to Scalas. Yeah, where is Case? I saw him talking about how he's installing OpenBSD. I think what we really should do today is just let Case tell us in IRC chat, with me streaming the IRC chat, about him installing OpenBSD, because that's more interesting than what I'm doing. Ashra says you need to press F4 multiple times. I'm not doing that. Okay, so 2025, big year, right? I'm not really a fan of odd numbered years. I don't really have a reason for that. I just don't like odd numbers. Even numbers feel better. They split evenly, you know? I don't like the kind of leftovers of an odd number divisible by 2. Whatever. So let's go into this oddly numbered year and talk about what we would like to do and see and discuss as a community and on the YouTube channel as we go through the year. I've broken this up into 4 categories, but we can talk about more things than just what I've got in the categories here. Ashra says you'll be highly excited in 23 years. I'm missing it. Are you talking about the prefix key thing that we saw that time? 2048. Oh, 2048 would be a great year, actually. I would love that. It's because of power, too. So, yeah, power of 2 years should be very powerful, I think. That's right. 2 to the 11th power. So, yes. So, videos, streams, community, and projects. This is the kind of thing we'll be discussing today. What kinds of things you would like to see across all these dimensions. But yes, like I said, I'm open to other categories and other ideas. Yes, I'm being lazy and I'm just asking you what you would like to see instead of me thinking about what I would like to make. Mainly because I like to do a little bit of idea gathering, you know? Like I like to see what people are thinking, what the current zeitgeist is in terms of, and I know someone's gonna correct me on my pronunciation of that, that's fine. To see what the current zeitgeist is in terms of, you know, what people are interested in, what's being talked about. I'm not really following, no React content. I'm not really following things on Reddit and other places. I'm sort of in my own little bubble here, so I'm missing out on certain things. It would be pretty cool. You need to dance when someone hits the follow button. I'm not an NPC TikToker, okay? I'm not gonna be doing that stuff. That's so creepy. That is the creepiest thing I've seen on the internet. Have you seen the NPC TikTokers who just pretend to be a character and they just like react to the things that are happening? That is the creepiest stuff I've ever seen. Okay, sorry, that was a little tangent. So, we're gonna talk about what topics you'd be interested in, what kinds of things you'd like to do. Prove it. No. I'm not proving anything, okay? There are some things I will not do, Skibidi. So, all right, so let's see. I saw Glenneth say an actual real suggestion about coding videos, but maybe we should talk about the that in the streaming section because it's probably better for coding. All right, so there's a section in the Geeks Manual, Omar says, about bootstrapping an OS from scratch. Have you already thought of doing that? That would take forever. You would have to compile everything. It would be kind of interesting, but I don't know. I mean, as a video, it would be difficult to show that, and as a stream, it just wouldn't work. Who was it who said that? Ketim Coder says, hey, is that the JetBrains font? I think so. Should be. Yeah. So let's talk about videos first. So I'll sort of seed the conversation a little bit here because obviously there's things that I've been thinking about. Like, for instance, a video about strategies for using Helm or Home. I don't remember. Yelly says, making our crafted systems Y2K38 ready. Might be just a short start of stream. David will rant instead of an entire stream, but still fun. What would we need to do for that? I don't even know what to do for that. LD says, did you do Advent of Code? No, I'm not an Advent of coder. Why? Because if I want to solve riddles, I'll just try to do my taxes because it's crazy. So yeah, sorry. So strategies for using Helm is one thing that I would like to talk about. Maybe other productivity videos in general. However, I feel like the 2 that I tried with org mode this year didn't quite go so well. Hey, Alejandro. And Paul says 64-bit date. Yeah, maybe that's why. More comparison videos like why choose Guile over common Lisp. Yeah, that's a good idea. SLS. Why choose Guile Scheme over common Lisp closure, etc. Should I do anything about common Lisp? I don't know. I'm kind of common Lisp keeps getting brought up. Common Lisp, it has value, obviously. Ashra says, do it and switch to Lim for a month. I don't know, man. I don't really know if I want to do that. I mean, maybe, sure, that would be a good way to, let's say, engagement farm, or try to get some views to the channel. But I don't know. Maybe I should stop whining and just do videos that are trendy to get views. Maybe I should do that. I'm a really bad YouTuber. Have you noticed that? Like, I'm just not really good at being a YouTuber. I'm not desperate enough for views to do the things that people would really do if they were desperate to get more subscribers. So, yeah. Let me just put something about Common Lisp, because it wouldn't hurt. Fred says, maybe some live coding of some simple Guile app development. Guile has a lot of reference material, but I think it's lacking in tutorials examples. Yeah, I do want to do some, like, let's just put it in the streams list. In fact, we'll be unstructured here. Whatever comes up, we'll put it into whatever list it fits in. So, live coding of Guile scheme apps. I do want to do that. There's some stuff I want to do regarding web app development with Guile on the back end, as well as Guile Hoot on the front end, making full sort of scheme end-to-end apps. Because I haven't done it yet. I would like to see what it would look like to do that. I think it would be pretty interesting. So, Cal 2001 says Artanis. That's not a bad idea. Make a video about GNU Artanis. GNU Artanis, if you didn't know, is basically like Ruby on Rails for Scheme. So, you could do a lot of this. Well, I can't say that you can do a lot of the same things, but I think the idea is to make it easy to scaffold out sections of web apps with Guile. Sort of like you would do with Ruby on Rails. So it would be interesting to take a look at that, because I've looked at the docs, but I've never used it. All right. Jeff says, easier to do something on Common Lisp than Uncommon Lisp. Just saying. Well, that's true. We are dealing with an Uncommon Lisp when we deal with Scheme. Okay, so something about Common Lisp. Whoa, where did I go? So, try out Lim. Sure. LD says, you created the game, right? Why not do it again? Probably during the time that game jams are going on. I mean, sure, we will definitely do a game jam. Another game jam with a Lisp. I guess this is a good... Hey, Kites. This is a good point to stop and ask a question. What kind of channel is System Crafters really? I mean, it started off being kind of Emacs focused, and we're still pretty Emacs focused. Obviously, I'm talking about Emacs all the time, but that's mainly because that's the primary interface that I use to my computer. But are we really an Emacs channel? Are we really a Geeks channel? I mean, I talk about Geeks all the time because I use Geeks as well, but are we more a Lisp channel? Are we a programming channel? Are we a computer enthusiast channel? I don't know. I keep asking these kinds of questions mainly because I'm trying to soul search myself and figure out like what it is that I need to do next here. But what do you think? What do you think System Crafters is? Let me check the YouTube site because I've been ignoring it. Fade says yes. All of the above. I'm guessing. Alejandro says a crafting channel. That doesn't help. Let's see. Do it all, says LD. Well, I guess we will be. Let's see. Niklaus says, trying to learn more Guile and some of the community infrastructure and best practice clear. Maybe a clinic or two to show recommended best practice. Yeah, doing that through streams would be useful, I think. Mike asked earlier and I missed. He says, Helm, are you giving up on Denote? Honestly, no. I'm not giving up on Denote. I've been using Helm. Ever since the stream that I did on Helm, I've been using Helm. Really interesting. Denote does some things better, but Helm has some interesting ideas that I'm trying to spend some time with to see if they really make a difference. Some are. but I'm not 100% sold yet. I still miss Denote for certain things. So, and I also think that a lot of the stuff that you could do in Helm could actually be replicated in Denote with a really specifically crafted packet. So that's also a possibility. Denote having a Helm-like interface using Consult, because I think that it would be fairly straightforward to do something like that. So that's a possibility for the future. I mean, we could try hacking on something like that. Replicate Helm for list functionality with Denote/Consult. Maybe, right? Let's see. A lucky pot. So Alejandro says, customize use of Denote. Yeah, I wanted to get more into it. So did I ever make any videos on Denote, or do I just talk about it and not do it? Denote. Strategies using Denote. All right. Mike says, sounds like we're getting into a little omphalos here. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm not smart enough to know that word. All right. So I missed some things in the chat. Let me check it out. We used to be a crafted Emacs channel, but not so much for a while. When I released the newest version of crafted Emacs, seems to have been fulfilled everyone's needs. There have been almost no bug reports for feature requests since release. Well, we should be promoting it again. And that's on me for not having been promoting it. So let me put that in a list too. Crafted Emacs. Nicolas says, I find the lack of type checking with Guile disturbing. Within Guile disturbing. Well, it has type checking at runtime, but definitely not at compile time. Alternate Fez says, I think you did a couple. I remember one where you showcased your Denote workflow. I definitely did streams. I haven't done videos on Denote. Yeah, because I've done general org mode videos recently, but no Denote videos yet. Jafer says, I think of system crafters as something along the lines of celebrating things like malleable systems and not particularly focused on a specific technology. Yeah, that is kind of right. Ashra says, who is general org mode? I don't know. Maybe it's... Oh, navel gazing. Thank you. We are certainly navel gazing. Anyway. I'll let that one go. So... we're not really, we're kind of concerned with making it easier to set up your computer and your tools the way that you want, and also build new tools the way that you want. And Emacs is kind of a tool building platform, if you think about it like that. I've actually made a few tools in Emacs using Emacs Lisp, including the package that drives these streams, which isn't super complicated, but it does a job. So LD says, this channel is focused on all the good technologies out there. Well, it's good in relation to our preferences. So if you found yourself here, you probably have similar preferences. Alejandro says, file strategies. Yeah, I did start with that on with the Geeks Home videos. They're all good systems, Brent. Let me get back to the chat here. Trev says, it's an Emacs, Geeks, and Lisp channel in that order. Maybe we need to reverse the order. Omar says, I think you're showing the power of having control over your system, or at least this is how the channel helped me get my custom Emacs config, and now planning on switching to Geeks as well. That's awesome. Dave says, I think of it as a Lisp channel, but Lisp in concrete application more than Lisp itself. Yeah, that's true. That's true. SLS says, maybe short interviews with users showing their system setup or special workflows. I do need to do that. I keep saying I'm going to do more interviews, but I think I have been disappointed with my interviewing capability this year. You know, I had the Sprightly folks on more than once, and the conversations went well, right? But that's mainly because the guests have interesting things to say. But I don't really feel like I did a good job as an interviewer. So I need to improve my interviewing skills. But maybe the way to do that is by interviewing more people and not just sitting around saying I'm not that good at it. So interview more people about their workflows and the tools they use. We really should do that. John says a deep dive into Dape would be cool. I've been investigating it over Christmas. I've extended it with a spinner mode line segment and package for using out of spec functionality. Yeah, that's true. Dape for debugging. So let's see. Jayfred says Emacs is one of the most malleable systems out there, I think. Yeah, for sure. Kite says we can open to non-Lisp languages too. I also think that as well. Terrible grammar. I'm not sure what people would be interested in. We've talked about doing some C programming stuff for a while. And I've worked on some ideas for a C programming course. But yeah, I mean, C has a lot of utility, especially for people who are into using Linux, because C gets you right at the system level. You know, you can do system calls and whatnot, and interact with the low-level libraries that everything else is using in the platform. And also, if you are working with a higher-level language, knowing C is pretty useful because you understand how C libraries work, and it helps you to either write or use foreign function interface bindings to those libraries. Because usually a dynamic language would give you some ability to wrap a C library using functions in the language. Guile has a dynamic FFI interface that will enable you to basically, at runtime, bind to a C library and call into it. So things like that are pretty useful. Maybe I should cover that too. Cal says, how do you use C in Guile and vice versa? Stuff like that would be useful. I don't know what the level of interest is in that stuff, but maybe we'll think about doing that as a stream and then maybe a video later if people are interested. So integrating C with Guile. We did a bit of that on the Flux Harmonic back whenever I was hacking on stuff on that channel. Rest in peace, Flux Harmonic. But I'd like to do more on that. So other languages. C, Zig, Go, Rust. I mean, I think that's kind of the space where we would be on other languages. I'm not sure what others I would do aside from that. JavaScript. Anybody want to learn JavaScript? I know a lot about JavaScript. Not really sure anybody wants to learn about that though. All right. Alejandro says Rust, Zig. Cal says, agree 110% with SLS. Probably about the interviews part. Yeah, Alternate Vet said, we did a Janet after all. We're talking about other languages. It's a Lisp, even though it doesn't say it's a Lisp. Rocio says, this is an Emacs channel about Lisp since it is the main interface used in it and used because it is configured using Lisp to use Lisp. Yes, that's true. Auntie says, are you using GNU Stow? Not anymore. Or in Geeks, it makes no sense because you define the packages in the GeeksConf. I am using a totally hacked up setup at the moment. I think I'm mainly using Geeks Home at this point for everything, for managing my dot files. And it's working pretty well. I think. I can't remember though. I'm not using Stow though. Also, Glenneth has written Guile Stash, which is a Stow replacement written scheme, so people can use that as well. All right. Arnaud says, what about C3? I actually thought about doing a C3 stream at some point, but I didn't get around to it. Jafer says, Prologue could be fun here, or Mini Conran. Something like that could be pretty fun, or Fourth even. John says, Elixir is such a beautiful language. I haven't looked at it. I've heard people talking about it, but I haven't looked at it. Left Pet says, by the way, that list is missing JavaScript. Yeah. I don't think you're serious. Unless you just want to destroy everything. Something on performance measurements and optimizing Guile programs. Maybe I should have Dave on and talk about that at some point. Because he made a really good blog post on that topic. Optimizing Guile programs. Measuring. Let's see. Alternate Vet says, why is it channel dead? Because I don't have time. I liked working on the stuff on that channel a lot, but at the time I had too many other things going on. And I think that if I were to be streaming regularly, I should be doing it in a more focused way and not splitting my time between 2 YouTube channels, or at least not 2 programming YouTube channels, let's say. I think everything should be more focused on system crafters. Rocio says, debugging parties. Yes, I know. I think you're the only person who liked the debugging parties, Alejandro, in the streams back in the day, working on Mesh, trying to figure out why Mesh was not working correctly when I was trying to just write a game and get done with it. LD says, I feel like covering another mainstream language like C++ or Python or Rust wouldn't be great. There are already tons of tutorials that do the job. This channel is for niche languages. Yeah, I agree with that. C++ I would not cover. I don't like C++. C has value to people on this channel, for sure. I am interested in Zig in particular because it is kind of like a better C. There's things I don't like about Zig, but I think that in the realm of quote-unquote systems programming languages, Zig is the most interesting to me for the types of code that I want to write. It solves the kind of problems that I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in rigid memory checking that Rust does. And I also, there's certain things I don't really like about the language. It's overly complex. The tooling is kind of like clunky and difficult to package on systems like Geeks. So I'm not a really big Rust fan. I know a lot of people out there like Rust, but I'm a little skeptical, to be honest. People can write great things in Rust. I'm not saying that Rust is not a good language. I'm saying for me, and for the types of things I do for my projects and the things I talk about on this channel, I think Rust is not necessarily the best choice because it kind of goes against the flexible, hackable ethos of everything here, I think. Fade says, I find the workflow in Rust tedious, like too much fighting with a compiler. Yeah. I mean, who wants to fight with a compiler all day? I don't. I want to debug inscrutable errors and look at memory dumps because my program keeps crashing because it's more fun. It's more fun than fighting with a compiler. I like digging into a bunch of crap and trying to fight my way out. No, I don't want the compiler, like, you know, giving me a bunch of Lego blocks and little apple juice and say, just wait there for a second. Let me fix all your stuff for you. Let me just tell you what you did wrong. I don't need that. I like to make my own messes and clean them up, all right? Sorry. Modern languages, why is there C but no C++ or C sharp? No way. No way. We're not talking about C sharp. You know, I got nothing wrong with .NET, but like, it's kind of like the farthest thing from useful for the purpose of what we're doing here. Sure, we could talk about C sharp if people wanted to, but not so much. Okay, All Tomcat says, what about C3? Look at C3. I am interested. I saw that Choding, how do you pronounce his name? Was doing some streams on that. He seems to jump around in languages quite a lot, though. So I don't really know what language you would say that Choding's channel is all about. I know there's a lot of C, but there's a lot of other stuff too. I saw him using Common Lisp recently too. I don't really watch his content, but I see his go live notifications on Twitch. And I can see what topics he talks about here and there. Alternate says, let's just process lists manually. Well, you would love to write some scheme code then, because that's basically what you're doing all day long. You're just processing const pairs the whole time, because the language doesn't give you anything else. It's just const pairs all day long. Trees and lists and everything else. Association lists, hash tables, all const pairs. Just deal with them manually. Recursion. Let's see, CSS, Alejandro says, that's actually not a bogus suggestion. CSS, who of us has not wanted to make a website, a blog site, especially like a static site? I think CSS is kind of valid. What I would do is talk about like, what is the bare minimum of the CSS that you need to know to make something that looks good without having to do all kinds of, you know, crazy, browser specific stuff, which you don't really need to do so much anymore. Like the most useful things like Flexbox and a lot of the settings are well supported across browsers now, including mobile. So yeah, I even thought about making a little HTML CSS course for people who want to like make their own website stuff, but we should talk about CSS, HTML and CSS. personal site design. I think it would be useful. Yele says, generating CSS using Guile. I mean, it would be cool to write something to do that. There's probably already a library, but it would be really cool to make that. So just as an exercise, like, can you make a library that, basically does SCSS? I know something like SCSS already exists, but I'm talking about SXML. So it's the analog to SXML, SCSS. Jeff is committing blasphemy in the chat right now. I see him suggesting we need to learn Lua to configure NeoVim. However, Lua is pretty interesting as a language. Probably I should do something on Lua at some point. Lua. Investigation. NeoVim stream for Trev, just for Trev. A NeoVim stream just for Trev. No, I'm not doing that. It says Lua, no. Okay, well, you heard it here, folks. We're not doing Lua. Fade has just marked that off. It's been vetoed. Okay, we're not doing it. What was the thing before? What was I saying before? Yes, Yele's suggestion. Generate CSS using Guile. I would do that as a stream. It would be a fun stream because I think that's something that is quite achievable without a whole lot of code. Quite achievable. I saw another blasphemy down there from Fade. What did he say? Any language that is one index is wrong? Oh, okay, that I agree with. I thought you were talking about a single namespace. Yes, one indexed is a little psychotic. I don't really understand the rationale behind it, unless what you're saying is 0 represents a bogus index, which I can understand. I mean, really, should it ever have been 0? Should we have always been starting indexing of arrays using 1 in every language? Because I think it would have been a bit more sane that way. Because what is 0? Like the 0th item of a list, isn't it just nothing? It's before the list. It's kind of like that little space before. It's not the first item, it's what's before. 0 times anything is 0. However, if you think about it in terms of memory addresses, 0 times some size plus the base address of an array, it does make sense because that's the location where the first item is. So I retract what I said. 0 is the right solution, but only if you're writing code in C or C++. I don't know, man. I can see it both ways, all right? I can see it both ways. Alternative says, yeah, you need a friendly push from David Will. What are we talking about? Oh, I didn't touch my NeoVim config for 6 months and all the plugins are abandoned. That's a problem. That's almost like the JavaScript ecosystem. You use a flashy new library, and then 6 months later, the developer has installed a Bitcoin mining routines in it, and then they have absconded with all the mined Bitcoin, and they fled to Malaysia or something, and they're just living it up, and they're not maintaining their library anymore. I don't know that this has actually happened, but this is a scenario that I'm proposing that could be happening in NeoVim as well. So who knows? Rev says, that sounds like a cool movie plot. I don't know. It may be cool to us, but not necessarily to the general audience. All right. I'm going to totally butcher a name that's in Cyrillic. Where did I see that? I'm not even going to try. Greek and Cyrillic sometimes is close enough that I can understand it. Is this like Ruslan? Thank you. See, I almost got it. You put the name up there right as I was about to say Ruslan. All right. I'm trying really hard to understand, words in other languages. That's the least I can do, right? We're a global community. There's people from all over the world coming here. I'm trying to do you all the respect to try to say your names correctly. Okay. Oslo says, what's the IRC channel name? #systemcrafters-live. Trev says, Ruslan is short for rustling. No, I don't really think so. But that would be pretty interesting, though. Anyway, Ruslan says, Dijkstra wrote a small note about why 0 indexing is better from a mathematical point of view. I can believe that. And I would believe Dijkstra over many other people. That's okay. It's not your fault. It's my fault for being a dumb American. All right. Where am I now? Two indexing is where it's at. Let's not get crazy here, alternate ved. Emacs Lisp is the king? I don't know. Okay, Oslo is posting the link to the Dijkstra argument for zero-based numbering. Cool. And Nicolas says, say what you will about Emacs and eLisp, but I've noticed it's got very long-term viability. Yes. Considering that many Emacs packages that have been around for a very long time still execute properly over the years because of the painstaking efforts by the Emacs maintainers to not break things. Yes, in terms of a tool that you can build on and use for a very, very long time, I don't think there's a better tool than Emacs, to be honest. That's the reason why I've invested so much of my own time into it. There have been many times where I've been struck by hubris and thought that I could do it better. I could make a better Emacs than Emacs. But really, like, why would you? Why bother? Because Emacs is already good enough, and the work that you do there is truly an investment in, you know, being able to have a workflow that works for years. That's why you see me with full screen Emacs all the time now, because really nothing else matches up in terms of a program that gives you the ability to create whatever workflow you need at any given time, especially as life circumstances change. You don't work at certain jobs anymore. Maybe you don't use certain tools anymore, and you need to sort of adapt but still use the same tools. What's better than Emacs? Especially when it comes to the infinite tweakability, where somebody can just lose an entire day trying to create their own custom color theme, right, Trev? Why do we need to do any work at jobs if we just have Emacs to tool around in all day? Okay, it's the ultimate productivity killer, and basically Lisp-driven slot machine for happiness. Right? Okay. Trev says, that's why I had to move away from NeoVim, because things keep changing all the time. Yeah, well, you definitely don't get that in Emacs too much. There are random breakages of things. And the climate kind of moves on over time, you know? Like, we've moved on from Helm to Ivy to Vertigo, et cetera, but the core is still there. And that's kind of the reason why I'm trying to gradually rip back things to the core and appreciate the core more, so that, you know, what I use doesn't have to be changed with the flavor of the month. Even in the Emacs land, that is what happens. Speaking of which, I haven't really said much about this recently. I'm still using a pretty bare bones Emacs config at this point. I'm still not using Consult, not using Vertigo. There are certain things that I need to fix that are driving me nuts. But I'm not unhappy. I might switch back to using graphical Emacs though. There are certain reasons why I think that terminal Emacs can be a little bit risky for permanent use, for like day-to-day desktop environment use. Like, using it over SSH and everything's great, but using it like this, like for instance, if you kill your terminal program, which by the way, I think Ashraz asked earlier, what terminal program am I using? It's Foot, which is a good program. But if you kill the terminal program, then your Emacs session goes bye-bye. Now, okay, sure, maybe you should be using Emacs Daemon. I should be using Emacs Daemon so that I don't have to worry about this problem. Fine, whatever. But there's certain things that keep happening. There's certain key bindings that don't work correctly. There's just, like, you know, little rough edges here and there that make me think, okay, I should probably be using graphical Emacs. I've been seeing a little thing go around lately that you should be using the, what was it, the Lucid version of Emacs. It's a graphical version of Emacs, but it's supposed to be like more performant than the other ones. I don't know if it's going to work in Wayland, but I might give that a shot at some point. But I have stuck with terminal Emacs for a while, and it's been fine. I don't know. I mean, I can't really complain too much, but I'll probably go back to graphical. Yes. Just use Emacs Daemon. Eric says, when I use Emacs, where was that? When I use Emacs, where is it? But I use it via Biobu/screen. Yeah, that makes sense too. Okay, so John says, I tried Lucid, but it's no use if you're using a high DPI screen. Well, that's all I use. So sounds like that's out for me. Let's see. LD is asking, did you make a package or theme that is in Emacs upstream? Who? Not me. Alejandro says, graphical Emacs rules. Dave is laughing at my Lisp-driven slot machine. Well, is it not like that? Is it not like that? Because you kind of go in, sit down, you're like, all right, today I'm going to get some work done. But first, I got to make sure that my to-do items show up correctly whenever I load up an agenda view. And then 4 hours later, you've rewritten your entire Emacs configuration. So is that not really like a slot machine? Or let's just call it like a box of infinite dopamine high, because there's always some little problem to fix and be like, oh, that's cool, that's great. Then you look at your watch and it's lunchtime already and you've done nothing for your actual job. So it's kind of dangerous, you know. I would say the two most dangerous programs, the two most dangerous hobbies you can have as a computer enthusiast are, number one, using Emacs. Number two is writing a compiler. I believe that. Those are like the gateway drug to, well, let's just say spending way too much time on the computer. Left Pat says, most dangerous hobby using JavaScript. Nah. Okay. What am I missing here? Glenna says, true, I got nothing done at real job today. Yes, that's what happens. Kai says, I don't feel NeoVim changing that much since I started using it 6 years ago. I use it the exact same way, probably because you're not using a whole bunch of packages. And that's the best way to go. I think if you're using Vim or Emacs, the less you use that is like a community package that might kind of change over time, the better. You can say that about pretty much anything, though. Like, you know, even programming platforms. Ashra says, Emacs terminal mode within WSL is so much faster than the Windows version, but the terminal keybinds mess up my muscle memory. I had the same experience. I was using WSL recently, and Emacs terminal mode in WSL was great. I liked it. But some of the stuff like org mode key bindings that don't work correctly, it's problematic for sure. Fate says, Emacs should grow the ability to detach from the controlling TTY. That would be nice if it could be its own screen, basically. Anti says, Emacs CLI is limited if you compare it to the GUI, even if it is GTK. Yeah, there are some limitations, that's for sure. Including the weird thing where you hit Control-G too many times and it exits Emacs as if there was a crash dump or something. Weird stuff. I understand it, but still, it's annoying as hell. Borosio says, a full blog written in Emacs Lisp, OX published, and denote notes. Yeah, probably blog from denote. I think I started doing something like that at some point, but I didn't really finish it. SLS says, so writing a compiler stream when? I'm trying to avoid that because it's really a rabbit hole. I did some of that actually on the Flux Harmonic channel. I was working on the Mesh compiler, which is basically Scheme, compiling to a custom VM, inspired by Crafting Interpreters, the book, which is an excellent book. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to avoid it because then I start thinking about compilers all the time. Ray says, are you a developer? Yeah. I'm a programmer. Morgan says, I think you could run a foot server that probably prevents accidental loss from closing the terminal window. Maybe. Yeah, I've looked at the foot server thing a little bit. I thought the point of that, though, was that it shares like a glyph cache between multiple terminal instances so that having multiple terminal windows open is more efficient. But I'm not 100% sure about that. I could be wrong. Elodie says, learning OpenGL and Vulkan. I did some OpenGL stuff on Flux Harmonic. Vulkan, I don't know, man. Vulkan is so verbose as a platform. Anyone I hear talking about writing a rendering engine using Vulkan, like it takes them at least a month to get the basic graphics pipeline working. because of all the validation checks and the things that you have to do to make it work right. It just seems like a little bit overkill. I don't know that I would go that far. Even though I am really interested in Vulkan and what it does, I don't know that it's going to be very effective for streaming. Alex says, is the presenter Dave Thompson? No. Dave says, I'm not on stream right now. You can be. You want to take over because I'm a little bit tired. I need to drink some water, you know? Eat some of these barbecue flavored peanuts that I have here. You know, it would be nice to just sit back and watch somebody else do the show. Fade says, Vulkan is a natural target for a Lisp DSL. Probably. Maybe. I don't know how shaders work in Vulkan, which language that is. Ashra says, nah, David is a phenomenon. Yes, it is a phenomenon happening at the moment where a person is just babbling for how long has it been now? Are we even talking about the point of the stream anymore? Jeez. All right, let's see. It needs to be done in the community, hence the newsletter. Yes. I missed the December newsletter, didn't I? These things go well. Which one are we talking about? Full blog? Yeah. So Paul says, I use Emacs for most stuff, but for quick changes to config files, I used to use Vim. Now I use Helix. Nearly no need for playing with the configuration except theme. Helix is interesting, but I don't know. I don't really think that it offers anything new that is sufficiently valuable enough to make me use it over Emacs or Vim. I don't use Vim anymore for small edits, though. Maybe occasionally, but hey, Knack, haven't seen you for a while. Yeah. But Helix is interesting. I've used it for a moment. Alejandro says, I've never had that issue with Control-G. I think it's whenever your computer gets really bogged down. There's some state that Emacs can get into where if you hit Control-G repeatedly, if you spam it like I do, then it will exit. Oh, and someone else said this before. I don't remember who it was. Oslo just reminded me of it. That maybe Guile Emacs could be the best Emacs or better Emacs. I'm really curious to see what happens with Guile Emacs because I'll be happy to write scheme code to configure Emacs. It'd be pretty cool. Alejandro says, oh, Terminal Emacs, yeah. David used Terminal Emacs on stream. There was some fun segments in the streams 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yes. Something really weird with prefix keys. That was weird. What? Maybe Davey Will could tutor you, saying to Dave, I'm not tutoring people on streaming because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just babbling. Okay, I've gotten really used to looking at a camera and a stream of chat and just talking nonsense for 2 hours. It's almost like I go into a fugue state and I turn into this personality that just gets in front of a camera and starts talking. And somehow people think it's funny or interesting or something because you keep coming back here. Why do you do that? I don't really know why. But no, there's nothing special here. It's just practice. And I'm really not doing that good of a job at it, to be honest. But we have fun. That's what's the important part. What IRC client are you using in your Emacs? This is RCIRC. Dave says, if anyone has seen the rare occasion that I have streamed, it's not so great. Well, you're doing a lot of really deep work in the streams. I was watching some of the Circoband streams. And yeah, there's a lot of, complex debugging that has to go on there. So it's not easy to be engaging whenever you're trying to debug complex issues. You have to stop and think. It's challenging. Dave says Vulkan uses Spear 5 for shaders. It's a bytecode format. You need to compile something else down to it. That actually sounds pretty cool, though, because if you have the ability just to compile down to a bytecode form, it can be whatever syntax you want. So, yeah. Would a Guile compiled to WASM be able to use a WASM Vulkan library? Possibly. I think Dave replied to that already. Alejandro says Mesh and Vulkan. That'd be cool, but yeah, that's a little bit out of scope right now. It makes me happy that people remember Mesh and keep bringing it up. But yeah, that's just not going to happen at the moment. Unless people keep bugging me, then maybe it will happen. Let's see. Fade says, a combination of Tramp Mode and Emacs Daemon has basically replaced my use for VI for quick system edits. Yep. John also says, I got rid of Vim for small edits by aliasing Emacs client NW to E. Yep. Spiro says, Helix is the editor for people who want to move to a terminal-based experience but don't want to configure too much. There's value in that. That's for sure. Because, you know, vanilla Vim is pretty Spartan. Helix has a nicer user experience in general. You know, it feels like a configured editor in a way. So yeah, not bad. Dave says, I've been wanting to write an S expression to Spear V assembler for some time, but haven't got around to it. You should do it for sure. I think that it would be worthwhile. If Guile Emacs is compatible with all or at least most Emacs packages, it is better than GNU Emacs, but Magit must be supported by it. I think it should be. I would think that that would be a high priority for the Guile Emacs project. Like the most popular packages have got to. They have got to. Alejandro says vanilla Vim is painful, useful but painful. I mean, it's painful in all the right ways. I think that Vim is not intended to be an editor that you sit in all day. It's an editor that you use as a tool to get in and get out. You edit a file and then you exit. I don't really know if it's meant to be a tool that you are using like an IDE, which people do, obviously, but you know, it's a very specific kind of interface. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I look pretty starved right now. I'm starved. Yeah, it's because I'm subsisting on only elbow pasta because they look like S expression. Elbow pasta and Cheerios that I've broken in half. That's the only source of food that I have. All right. Fade says, I'm a little skeptical of the entire move to a terminal thing. It feels a little like when all the hippies moved to the woods in the 60s and starved. Ah, right, gotcha. Yeah, you could say it's a little bit like, you know, someone who tries to be a complete ascetic and move to the terminal and use unconfigured programs like Emacs. You might see them sending out manifestos and, you know, sparkly packages to government facilities within a year or two. Who knows? I'm not implying that anyone that we know is going to do that. Please don't come knocking at my door. But, you know, there's kind of a correlation between asceticism and, well, let's just not say the other word. The historical lack of buffer handling when windowing in Vim is why Vimmers are so terminal focused. Yeah. Dave says, maybe I will write the assembler, David will. I'm currently trying to force myself to finish and release Guile B-Structs, which I'm using for the work in progress SDL3 bindings. B-Structs thing is really cool. We need that. We need that in Guile land, for sure. Retro Pixel says, I'm using Vim with 4 plugins added. That's great. Jerry says, Vim is my quick and dirty editor. John says, alphabet soup, but only parens. Spieto says, I think both Guile and Emacs project have priority number 1 to be backwards compatible with eLisp. Yeah, it has to be. Has to be. All right. Left Pad says, hello, Greek FBI. Yeah, don't do that, please. Dave says, what are B-Structs? I think that's, Dave can explain this better than me. But I think B-Structs is the project where you can define memory mapped data structures in Scheme that go down to a byte array, byte struct. So if you want to directly interact with C structs in Scheme as a Scheme struct or a Scheme record type, then you should be able to define that in Scheme, and then whatever things you set or read out of that goes directly from a byte array instead of like the normal value types in Scheme, or they will at least get translated across to that. The main reason why is because you need, if you want to do high performance graphics development and you're using like vertex arrays or whatever kinds of buffers are being given to you by OpenGL, then you need a way to define a structure for the stuff that's in those arrays and access it directly instead of having to do like a translation between. I think, right? Yeah, it's a binary structure reading writing for Guile inspired by Shade Scheme's F-types. That's right. Dave says it's an alternative to the byte structures library that already exists but doesn't exactly behave the way I'd like. It's kind of generalized, right? You can use different backends in a way to access things that are byte-like, byte array-like. Yeah. All right, thank you, SES copy. Minas Mazur says, Vim is great because when I was looking for some tutorials, I discovered Emacs. See, that's right. Vim is the gateway drug to Emacs. Eventually, everyone comes to Emacs. That's what I should do, is make Vim videos so that people will find all the Emacs videos on my channel. Yes, if you want to lessen the burden on the non-bot bot that is SEC copy, because Ashraz is literally copying and pasting YouTube chat over to IRC. Thank you, Ashraz. You're an amazing human being. Not only for SEC copy, but also for making the forum threads for the streams. Yes, SEC copy is tired. Join the IRC so that SEC copy doesn't have to do all that work. Bade says David will revert it to vanilla Emacs keys this year, so his conversion is complete. I'm happy I did that. To be completely honest with you, I have not regretted leaving evil mode for 1 second. I'm very happy with what I did. I will not say that the Emacs vanilla key bindings are the most sensible key bindings you could have come up with, but at least they're consistent, and the kind of whole ecosystem is built around the idea of control N, control P, meta N, meta P, etc. So you get a lot of mileage out of using the keys the way that they were intended to be used and not trying to customize them with a whole overlay like evil mode, etc. All right. Akite says, you're going to hate me, but I tried Emacs and decided to go back to Vim. That's fine. There's no problem, dude. Like, you're here because you use Geeks and you contribute to Geeks, and that's also good, right? We don't have to all be Emacs users here. I like to make jokes about Emacs and everything, but you're not going to catch me saying that people should or shouldn't use any program or tool, because if it works for you, that's the one to use. Unless you're using Windows XP. Then I'm going to look at you really funny and wonder what happened. What happened to you if you're still using Windows XP? Is there really some old shareware program that doesn't work on newer versions of Windows that you have to use for some reason? Is it like some dog food classification program? I don't know why that was the idea I came up with, but it has to be something obscure, right? Because anything else would be on latest versions of Windows in this completely hypothetical scenario that I'm creating. Ashra says, wasn't there a discussion about a machine with an uptime of 30 days yesterday on System Crafters? Only 30? That seems pretty low to me. 30 years. Okay, sure. 30 years, yes. Maybe 30 years would be pretty impressive. But, I mean, wouldn't that not be like a server somewhere? Yeah, PDP 11. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Corjito says, I haven't missed Evil at all thanks to Avi. Avi is cool. I haven't brought that back into the workflow, but Avi is really cool. LD says, how is Windows 11 better than Windows XP? I don't think Windows 11 is better. I don't think any Windows is really better. I'm just making jokes here. That was the first idea that came to mind as a thing that would be weird if people used. Is the added spyware a good add-on? It might be. Who knows? Maybe it's good spyware. You know, maybe it helps you find discounts on the dishwashing detergent that you use. Windows 11 just added more ads. Great. Windows 11 automatically makes you use GNU Linux. Well, it certainly encourages you down that path. Fade says, I've been noticing on Twitch a distinct Windows 95 nostalgia where people are skinning their modern operating systems to look like Chicago. So, the the 90s have made a comeback. I don't know if you've noticed, if you see, you know, high school aged kids around, which I know it sounds kind of weird me saying that I see high school aged kids around, but I literally live 2 blocks away from a high school. So this is why I know this. Kids are wearing 90s clothes right now. Maybe 90s is kind of the meme. So maybe the reason why people are using 90s, you know, Windows 95 like themes on their operating system is because 90s is kind of in at the moment. You know, it's kind of all the grungy look, you know, with the baggy jeans and the flannel shirts and the Doc Martens and then Windows 95 theme, right? It all goes together, you know? You gotta feel like you're back in 1995 after the rise and fall of Nirvana. Whenever music started getting a little bit past grunge and getting more into the kind of the folky, poppy era, you know? Kind of like that. Am I going too far? Left Pad says Saturday morning cartoons are back. Did they ever leave? I don't think they left. John says, I sometimes have to stare quizzically at people who I meet who still use Atom or NetBeans. Atom, I can understand. NetBeans, not so much. See, I mean, as Mizer. Max says, I used vanilla Emacs bindings for about 2 years, switched to Evil, then learned Zavfly keys, Shawfly keys, God mode, meow, etc. And the big takeaway for me was that the path dependency is a huge issue. What is path dependency? Mars says, oh man, the 90s. Yes, the 90s. Trev says, is Trevosaur the same as Trev? What are we doing here? Trevosaur says, are we listening to Nirvana right now? Well, I see a lot of people wearing Nirvana shirts who are young enough that their parents listen to Nirvana, but I don't think they've ever listened to Nirvana. So I don't think we're listening to Nirvana right now. It doesn't sound like it. You know, I would like to play some Nirvana, but I would get copyright strike to hell. It would be nice if you could just do whatever you want, right? Dave says, big fan of the 90s. Oh, I'm a huge fan of the 90s. I love some NSYNC. All right. CD players and cassette players are coming back. Yes, if you've been hoarding your old CD players and cassette players, probably you could sell them on eBay. Dave says, listening to Nevermind front to back is quite the experience. Yeah, Nevermind is a great album. In Utero is also a great album. Probably not quite as listened to, but it's a good album. I've been enjoying that one. Mars says, the dude that became my girlfriend in 1990 is now my wife. I feel old now. That's not a bad thing. Come on, you know? A long-lasting relationship is a great thing. John says, I've been collecting cassettes for the past 5 years. Well, that's pretty funny. I used to have a bunch of cassettes. Oh, disappeared. What happened? Did they get eaten? Trevosaur says, I'm not Trev. Sorry. Well, let's see about that. No, it's not Trev. That's for sure. Okay, it's a different Trev. So now we got 3 Trevs around. That's interesting. Sorry, Trevosaur. Here. Paul says, I still have all my CDs. It ripped my heart to let all my vinyl go 20 or so years ago. No streaming here, still buy CDs. Yeah, I buy music, MP3s and stuff sometimes. Streaming is just too convenient, unfortunately. If I can recommend one 90s band that many people have not heard of before, check out Hum. The name sounds familiar, but I definitely have not listened to that, Dave. Dave says, I used to have to manage archival data tapes. I don't miss magnetic tape in any form. Definitely not. All right, so that was quite the tangent that we got on there. Let's get back to the original point of the stream, which is to talk about what we want to talk about. Talk about what we want to talk about in 2025 on the channel and in the community. So we've got a lot of things in the listing of videos and streams. Let me think if I can come up with any other stuff. 3 Trevs are trying to trick you. 3 Trevs are trying to trick you. 3 Trevs are trying to trick you. That was only 3, though. Paul says, I ripped them all and streamed them from Jellyfin. Jellyfin is good. Dave says, system crappers in 2025 should go back to the 90s, is what I'm trying to say. Well, if I were to do that, I would probably install Slackware, because that's what I was using in the 90s. Hello, Gun. Happy New Year. And I'm sorry to hear that you got a stomach virus. That's not fun. Fade says, let's implement a media center in Lisp. What was Media Goblin written in? It's not exactly a media center. Oslo says, remember owning things? Remember when people actually owned things and you actually could hold an item in your hands and you owned it? But the reality is you didn't actually own it. Even though you had a physical artifact in your hand that may have had music or video on it, you didn't really own it because you're still beholden to the license of what was on there. So your use of that thing is restricted based on the person who stole it to you. So in a way, you're still renting it, even though you only paid for it one time. Because they can restrict what you do with it after that. You're not really supposed to make copies of it or rip it. So do you really own it in the end? Can you do whatever you want to with it? Can you take it and then make something new with it? Not really. So I don't know, like there is something to say, you know, you can, you have access to something that you can play at any given moment that you want to without internet or without having to check a license server, but you still don't really own it. Dave says Media Goblin is written in Python. Blah. Paul says Slackware, me too, 1995, version 1.3 of the kernel. I might have used a very similar build. Slackware was my first Linux distro. Paul says, you can still do more than you can with the stream when Netflix removes it. Yes, that's the thing that sucks the most, I think, about the streaming era, is that things just disappear for no real good reason. Obviously, it's because of licensing issues and agreements and contracts and stuff. But yeah, it kind of sucks, especially if you buy something like a video on Amazon and that disappears. I don't know if it's ever happened to me, but it could happen. Dave says, fun fact, Media Goblin is the first FOSS project I ever contributed to. That doesn't surprise me. The collaboration with Christine goes back a long way. Oslo says, now you don't even own the analogous bits on your own computer. That's right, I know. I'm being a little facetious here. You're right that we don't own things a lot more now than we ever did before, but still. So, yeah, so you can make a change to a DVD. You scratch it, you can break it, but you can't, like, sell the contents. Carswell's coat says, using Slackware today, I'm lazy or a cockroach. The thing about Slackware is I'm not really sure how you're supposed to use it to get newer versions of the software, because it seems like Slackware moves kind of slow, like slower than most other distros in terms of things updating, but maybe that's just my misunderstanding about how things work in Slackware land. I would like to know, though, because I've toyed with the idea of installing Slackware at times, but I just never really went through with it. Mars says, I still have my first Linux CD-ROMs from 1996. I wish I did too. I wish I had them. LD says, man, I feel young here being 21. Yeah, you're pretty young for this audience, that's for sure. There's some young folks here, which is great, I think. Trev says, I'm back. Did I miss anything? You missed another doppelganger. Ashra says, is Slackware still being maintained by Patrick Volkerding? Yes. Your evil brother, mostly. Anyway, what was I saying? Also, David Will is regressing into 90s. I'm not regressing. We're just sort of, you know, thinking about the 90s a little bit, recalling the cool things that happened in the 90s. Oh, yes, we were talking about young people being here. Yeah, there's a lot of oldies here. Well, I'm an oldie. Trev says, I'm not his brother. I'm starting to become skeptical of whether you are not the same person. I think you are the same person. We got too many people with alt accounts hopping into the chat. It's fine, though. It adds some drama. Yes. Okay, so Dave is trying to get things back on track. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. I'd be curious to know if there are a few particular topics that the overall community would want David Will to take a deep dive into. What should we deep dive into? So look, let me add another section, deep dives. Here, someone mentioned this earlier in the stream, and I kind of glossed over it. I think it was Trev. I think Trev said it would be nice to have programming projects that we kind of kept going with over time to see how they progress. I have been thinking about streaming more often. Every time I do that, I end up not doing it for very long, for various reasons. But I do want to do some longer term projects because in a way, there's only so much that you can do in 2 hours on a Friday. There's many things that we start and don't finish, or really don't even make a whole lot of progress on a Friday stream. And I feel like if I'm doing it only on Friday streams in 2-hour blocks, we're not going to make any progress on bigger projects. So the only possible way that we're going to be able to work on a larger project over time is to have streams more frequently. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean having a permanent streaming schedule that happens over a period of time. What it could mean is doing more like a game jam type thing where maybe there's a week or a month where there's a specific schedule and a specific project being worked on. Maybe we try to hack through something specific. The reason why I think it would be nice is it can give you deeper insight into not just the beginning of a project, but like how to continue building something after you've done like the initial hacking and you have to actually start improving the quality of the code, building new components to go into the system, the thought process behind design changes, etc. Also, building different kinds of applications like web apps or desktop apps, or larger integrations into Emacs or customizations of geeks, anything like that. I don't really know. Ashra says like a craftathon, subathon. I mean, that's certainly a good way to think about it. Occasionally doing something like that. I would like to stream multiple times per week, but I just don't think I'm going to be able to manage it. I could do it. I could get into a rhythm of doing it, but I am reluctant to commit to that because it is a big commitment. But if people thought it would be interesting to see more regular programming streams and people thought they would watch them, then I would be interested. But I don't know. I miss programming. I haven't really done a whole lot of programming in the last year after I started, doing System Crafters full time. I did some programming on the System Crafters Guild backend, but I haven't done a lot of projects. So Leftfat says, yeah, what Ashra said, what's more important in your community? Well, nothing really. What am I missing? Or do some work not on stream? It's not as fun. I really like live coding. 24-hour stream, I'm too old for 24-hour streams, man. I could not do a 24-hour stream. I would die. I think I would have a heart attack. I'll start having heart palpitations at hour number 5 or 6, and then I'd probably be dead by now. Let's see. Let me scroll back a little bit here visually. Oh, let me put it on this screen. I have the same chat on 2 screens. Sorry for not showing that. Paul says, some of us could regress to the early 80s and talk about the original IBM PC and Commodore PET computers. Well, I would be interested to hear more about those. I would love to get a Commodore Amiga and tool around with that. That seemed like a pretty awesome system. Dave says, just slam a few monsters, you'll be fine for 24 hours. No, I don't think so. I think that's going to make the heart palpitations worse. Trust me, I know from experience. Game jams and monsters and Red Bulls and not enough sleep. Yeah. That leads to heart palpitations for, I don't know, like every 5 minutes for a week. Not really good. This is old people stuff we're talking about here. All the young streamers don't know nothing about this. Let's see. Dave says to me, the streams sample a variety of projects, shallow dives, I guess, which is good. Yeah, I don't know. I feel bad sometimes about it because we don't make a lot of progress, and I don't come back to the same topic because we kind of got to move on to other things each week. So Ashra says, would deep dives be during the usual Friday streams? It would be difficult. Alejandro says, deep dives implementing continuations on Mesh. I did that. I had started that. I started doing weekly live streams, or like streams in the week. Was it last year or the year before last? One of those 2 years. And I didn't do it for very long. And I ended up finishing writing delimited continuations into Mesh off stream at some point later. Dave says, or a video series about a topic that you know has enough demand to be worth it. That's a problem. I do not have a good barometer about what things are going to have enough demand to be worth it, because everything I think is going to have demand ends up not really having as much demand. It always ends up being the things that surprise me. So I don't know. I got to have a better strategy for figuring this out. Let's improve Marvin, says alternate ved. I'll let Fade stick to that job. But definitely other folks should help him on that. Why not? How do you spend your time? You mean, how do I spend my time every day? Crying, probably. Fade says, I'm open to pull requests for Marv. Alejandro says, maybe a Crafters Conf. I would love to do that. I think that I would do a really bad job of organizing it. I would probably have to pay Sacha Chua to help me, because she does such an excellent job with Emacs Conf that I would not entrust operating a conference with myself. It would have to be someone else. Maybe I'll get Ashraz to do it, because Ashraz is far more organized and thinks of things ahead of time than I do. All right. Ashraz and Leftpad could do it. I wouldn't let Leftpad do it. Ashraz says, what? Yeah, you. I didn't pay attention. Nothing. I didn't say anything. I just signed you up for a large effort. Green tea and proper bedtimes rule. Well, I have proper bedtimes, technically speaking, but I have improper wake times. I wake up way too early, and then I sit at the computer all day. Alternate Vet says, it could be something low-key like Doom Conf. It probably should be. Doing work not on stream doesn't preclude you doing it also on stream. So my experience from Flux Harmonic, he was one of the reasons why Flux Harmonic wasn't sustainable for me. And for those of you who don't know, Flux Harmonic is a second YouTube channel that I have. You can see a link to it in the main page of the System Crafter channel. It was a live streaming only channel where I was doing twice a week live streams where we were basically trying to code a game engine from scratch, and like an interactive media creation tool from scratch using Scheme in general, or Lisp languages. And Trev says Flux Harmonic sounds like it would be a guitar pedal brand. Yes, just another one of these brand names I come up with. So on that, what I found was that streaming 2 times a week for three hours each, or 2 hours each, was enough to make some progress, but it wasn't enough to make enough progress to remain interesting over the course of multiple weeks, because things didn't really happen so fast. So I would end up doing coding off stream, which means that I was coding all the time on Flux Harmonic stuff alongside a full-time job, and then I wasn't doing as much on System Crafters anymore. So System Crafters started to suffer right around that point because I started focusing way too much time and energy on Flux Harmonic. So that was why I ended up not sticking to Flux Harmonic in the long term, because it wasn't like the channel wasn't really growing. It's hard to grow a live stream only channel, especially if you're doing it primarily on YouTube. Especially with super niche topics like what I was doing. So yeah, it wasn't really working out, but I loved it. Carswell says, I'd love to see Flux Harmonic revived in some form. It's how I discovered you. I mean, really what I'm trying to do is move over some of what we were doing in Flux Harmonic onto System Crafters. And I've been a little reluctant over time to put too much general coding in System Crafters, because I didn't want to alienate the Emacs audience. But I think we've kind of moved on from Emacs in a way. Like, a lot of people find this channel because of Emacs, but I feel like the people who stick around and who are enthusiastic about the channel are interested in more than just Emacs, so I don't feel so bad about that anymore, but I would like to focus on types of projects that are appropriate for the channel. I could do game development all day. I would have fun doing that, but I don't think people on this channel would like to watch primarily game development live streaming. App development live streaming, system crafting live streaming definitely makes sense. Big Book of Bugs says, come for the Emacs, stay for the scheme. Yeah, that does actually, that does track, I think. I would like to open the doors to Common Lisp a little bit as well, too, because it's a good platform. Yeah, you heard me say that. Okay. So, Dave says, I like the streams, David Will, because I learned a bit about a bunch of things I wouldn't, man, that was hard to say, a bit about a bunch of things I wouldn't have otherwise checked out. Well, that is actually useful to me too, because a lot of times there's something I want to look into, and on Friday, I'm like, hey, why don't I just make a stream about that? And it gives me an opportunity to spend 2 hours looking at it, and I learn a lot as well, so it's great. Dave says, I'm not always into the particular project, but that's fine. Yeah, that's the kind of thing with doing longer term projects is that you don't want to lose people who aren't interested in what you're doing. So I think that if I were to do more often live streaming, I would have to do a little bit of exploratory development on different things to see what people are really interested in watching and then stick with that. All right. Fade says, I love the Amiga. Amiga is a super cool system, for sure. Ha. Fade says, even thought the Call of Duty streams you did last year were entertaining. I haven't played Call of Duty in probably 7 or 8 months now. That was fun when I did, though. I enjoyed it. Left Pad says, you all read The Little Schemer. Now watch The Big Schemer live every Friday. Yes, I'm definitely scheming. Oshra says, let's set up a community Minecraft server. I don't know, man. Every time I start playing Minecraft, I'm like, this is so cool. I remember enjoying playing Minecraft, but I could never really get back into it. Big Book of Bugs says, Common Lisp is my preferred Lisp personally, so I second the notion of opening the door to that. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm seeing too many people dive into it lately that it makes sense to follow the wave. Trev says, that's why I think the project should be tangible, not something extreme like some coding stuff, since he's working on them behind the scenes, something in the realm of system crafting, not really game dev, graphics, etc. Yeah, graphics and game development, if you're doing it from scratch like I was on Flux Harmonic, is really difficult to do, especially if you're trying to learn some of the stuff at the same time. So you have to do a lot of work off stream. Building web apps, on the other hand, is not that hard. You know, web apps, back end work, front end work, not that hard, not that complicated, especially if you're not going like the full crazy, like huge React application and like microservices, Kubernetes backend type stuff, which I might do at some point because it might be interesting to see what a Kubernetes managed scalable scheme web app could look like, or Common Lisp app could look like, but I don't know. Like being a slightly more practical and down to earth makes sense, I think, for projects, but I don't know. Keep saying I don't know because I'm not really sure. I'm never really sure. Okay, I just kind of figure it out as things go on. All right, so deep dives. We didn't really talk about what we would want to see on that. If anybody has suggestions, please bring them up. Community. I keep thinking about what I want to do community-wise because we have the forum, we have the IRC, and the IRC gets a lot of activity. I'm very happy about that. I think it's great that so many people kind of come and hang out in the IRC every day. The forum still has activity. It's not as much as I would like for it to, and really I consider that to be my fault for not driving more attention to it and kind of facilitating activity there. So I want to find a way to focus more, like let's say centralize the ongoing activity of what people are doing on the forum IRC is great for kind of hanging out and chatting, and that's what people are doing most of the time, but I would like the forum to be a little bit more active, and I'm trying to think of how I can do that. Obviously, starting conversations on particular topics, maybe encouraging people to post about certain things at certain days of the week, things of that nature could help. But just generally more activity in the forum would be great. Okay, let me just say, let me be more specific. Encouraging more activity in the forum would be great. SEC Copy says, how about we write an IRC bridging bot in Lisp? Well, I technically did that already in Scheme, but we could probably work on that a bit more. Ashra says, I was baffled by the recent statistics in the forums. Baffled in a bad way or a good way? I'm not sure. Carswell's Coat says, the Helm stream was excellent. Hadn't heard of Helm. Always learn something from your streams. Yeah, that's a package I kept hearing about. And I've been using it since then. It's pretty cool. I like it. Trev says, Emacs packages, Guile, libs, geek stuff, etc. Yeah. So Emacs packages, what was it? Geeks, where was it? Where is it? Where is it? Guile, libs, geek stuff, etc. Guile, libs, geek stuff, etc. I mean, one thing I was thinking about is that it would be nice to write some libraries for web development in Guile. There's certain things that are kind of missing. It'd be cool to, build some new stuff for that. I'll be interested in doing that live. Big Book of Bugs says, looking into low-level geek stuff would be cool, but that's my personal bias. Yeah, I think we would end up doing that in some of these streams. Ashra says, I'm baffled that I'm in the top 5 of most time reading. That is surprising. Trev says Guile PowerShell. Don't say that. We don't need that. There's already Gash and SESH and others. Helm's Moving Castle. Yeah, that would be an interesting animated film. Scheme Shell Revival. What's going on with the Gash project these days? Gash, Guile, Shell. Gash, Guile is Shell. This is, I think, used in the early init of Geeks. Gash is designed to bootstrap Bash as part of the Geeks bootstrap process. So it's not really a shell in Scheme. It's more of a Bash emulation that's written in Guile. Gash is a POSIX compatible shell written in Guile Scheme. Provides both the shell interface as well as a Guile library for parsing shell scripts. Got it? We were planning to develop Gash into a general purpose shell and tool for building interfaces between Scheme and the shell. That's kind of interesting. I also want to point out that someone mentioned contributing to Emacs and Geeks on stream, which would be cool for sure. I think Trev may have said that. I'm not sure who said that. Big Book of Bugs said, I tried to use the Scheme shell on Geeks and somehow ate all of my RAM and I had to reboot. That's not a good review. Not a good review. Trev says to Dave, as our CTO, you need to guide the technology choices here. I agree. I think, isn't Dave kind of the CTO of System Crafters? I mean, he's the CTO of Sprightly, but kind of the honorary CTO of System Crafters. I am just the mouthpiece, of the whole operation. I guess Ashraz is like the CEO in a way because he's, more organized. Trev says, I said it. I think it would be educational to show people how to contribute to those projects. Yeah, I know. I need to do more to help people learn how to do that. Ashra says CCO, Chief Chaos Organizer. Yeah, that is kind of right because it's nothing but chaos. And Ashra steps in to organize it slightly. I'm the tech evangelist. Yeah, I guess you could call it that. Okay. So community, I mean, hackathons on certain topics. I keep saying I want to do this, and I just never organize it. What was the other thing? CrafterConf? Something like that. I mean, just a way for people to do their own kind of presentations on interesting stuff. I mean, Emacs Conf is a great conference for Emacs, obviously. But I think there's a wider range of things that people could talk about. So is it D. Thompson versus LeftPad? I would not call LeftPad the CTO. I would call LeftPad the source of chaos. It's almost like you have the yin and yang of Ashraz and LeftPad. Ashraz brings order, whereas LeftPad brings chaos. So I think that we have the full Taoist spectrum of balance represented by one person who's split into two, actually into three if you consider SEC copy. But SEC copy is more of just a human bot that has opinions that are represented as meta comments. LeftPad says, "Shut up," to Ashraz. All right. We're handing out titles. What about Benoit and me? Well, Fade is the chief Lisp officer, and Benoit is the chief not using any of the same stuff except for Emacs maybe officer, because he's using Nix all the time. Okay, Marvin Master. Fade does more than just Marvin. All right. So, all right, cool. Projects. So, crafted Emacs. Discourse Emacs. Crafted Geeks, because that probably needs to happen at some point, and I'm just kind of delaying it. I mean, Crafted Geeks would be something that would be interesting to do on stream. I'm kind of like trying to figure out the level of which something like that would be useful. I think it would be useful. If you don't know what I mean by Crafted Geeks, it's basically a configuration layer on top of Geeks to simplify certain types of configurations for desktop environment use, I guess. I mean, RDE is an example of this already, but there's room for there being other kind of flavors of this kind of configuration system. Yeah, Alternate Vet says, isn't that what RDE is? Yes, that's what RDE is. But I think I've got some different ideas. Not that they're better ideas. What I want to do is make Geeks more approachable. Right? Make it easier for someone to get started using Geeks and then eventually learn all the stuff under the hood. It's kind of the same idea as with Crafted Emacs, where it gives you a sort of pre-configured modules of configuration, but then you should be able to get rid of them if you want to at some point and do your own thing and only keep the stuff that you need. So that's kind of the idea. Projects. What else? What else have I been working on? I mean, yes, I need to talk about the guild. System, crafters, guild site. I don't really know if people would want to contribute to that, but that is something also, and I'll talk about that in a minute. LeftPad is chaotic neutral. Fade says, I would like to get Marv integrated with Twitch. Well, I mean, if I get the Twitch IRC bridge back up, then we could certainly do that. Alejandro says, RDE is opinionated. I mean, I think you have to be opinionated to be a configuration layer in a way. I would be opinionated as well, but just in a different way. Let's see. Ashra says, do we have some kind of lore page for some traditions here on the channel? We don't, but we probably should. I don't know if the forum would be a good place for that. Big Book of Bugs says, Crafted Geeks would be immensely helpful regarding hardware concerns alone. Yeah, definitely making it easier to install Geeks on conventional laptops and stuff would be good without having to do extra work. Paul says Crafted Geeks is okay, but I think it would be better to stream the development of a Crafted Geeks configuration. Yeah, that too, for sure. I need to make more Geeks videos. What is Archon? Fade. It's a big project, but there's probably room for an Archon for geeks. Don't know what that is. Archon packages are on Geeks. Some kind of self-host project. Okay. Maybe a shell written in Guile. Don't know about the current state of GNU Gash. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do another one of those, but it would be cool to look into Gash. Maybe I should do that actually. What is Gash? Try it out. Lua, yeah. A graphical display environment. Arcan. Cannabis Blossom Honey. Not what I think that we're looking for here. I'm getting all the Greek suggestions here. The tool for technical debt detection. That cannot be what you're looking at either. Arcan Lua. Okay, display server multimedia framework. This sounds like what I was trying to make with Mesh on Flux Harmonic, actually. Powerful development framework for creating virtually anything from user interfaces, special embedded applications. Yeah, exactly what I was trying to do with Mesh. So one of the long-term goals for Mesh was to make it possible to create a fully customizable environment, kind of like Emacs, but a bit more toward the graphical end of the spectrum and not so much the text end of the spectrum, where you can make your own custom little apps inside of almost like a desktop environment. It would effectively be a desktop environment in many ways. And apps that, if you wrote it for the desktop version, would also work on a mobile version as well. So, and also you could do games, you could do interactive stuff, all that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I was going with Mesh in the end. But that's a huge project, and I can't do it all by myself. But maybe one day I would get back to that. I don't know. Like, if I really like double down on that's too much for one man, yeah, but that's why there's a community here. If I were to really double down on one area in live coding and programming and trying to build up something on that, it would probably be a project like that. But yeah, I don't really see it working out. Lua makes me unhappy, not gonna lie. Yeah, well, Lua is good though. And like RetroPixel says, you can use Fennel on top, which is a nice language, sure. Alejandro says, Geeks build systems are important to contribute to Geeks. That's true. Knack says, what's the elevator pitch for why I need to use Geeks? What I would say is don't use Geeks. Not because you won't enjoy it, just because the amount of hair pulling involved is quite high at first. This is why I want to make something like Crafted Geeks, so that I can give you something that you can install and start using without having to go through all the trouble that most of the people have who have done it recently. Right? Dave says Geeks is the greatest technology you probably don't need. Well, in its current state, it's too raw. And I don't mean raw in terms of unstable. I mean like you have to do a lot. You have to understand how the system works to be effective in it, I think. There's a lot of patterns that you need to understand. Hey, Benoit. There's a lot of patterns you need to understand that make it difficult to be effective with Geeks in the early days, and that's why I think that having a kind of a pre-baked configuration that lets you customize it without making you understand the Geeks model too much to be good. RetroPixel says, start with Geeks a package manager on your own Linux and then switch to Geeks system. Yeah. It's I've seen issues with that. There's definitely issues using Geeks as a package manager. Not really worth going into right now because I don't have a whole lot of time. But yes, I mean, it could definitely work. But if you start trying to use Geeks Home with Geeks as a package manager, then things can get a little bit wacky, I'd say. Retro Pixel says, I think just having Geek Shell is magical. Yeah, it's great. Geek Shell is really nice. All right. Trev says, don't use geeks, reverse psychology. I don't intend for it to be reverse psychology. I'm just sort of going based on the current experience I've seen from various people. Gunn says, the sensation of firing up a geek system comes second to none, especially on stream. The sensation of despair, you mean? Niklaus says, as much as I love Nix, after starting to teach my kiddo Guile, that's cool. I see the beauty of a fully explainable OS with one simple and powerful language. It is cool. All right. What is the sponsorship level? Oh, let's hear a question from the audience. What is the System Crafters Guild? Thank you, Ashraz. I need to get to that. Don't let me forget. Thank you, Ashraz, for giving me the copy for that as well. This stream is sponsored by the System Crafters Guild. I really should be saying that, shouldn't I? I've done a terrible job. I swear, I do a really bad job. I feel like a terrible YouTuber, a terrible content creator. I should do better, I think. No, I didn't tailor that answer to you, Knack. I'm seriously saying that. Ask any of the people who've installed Geeks in the System Crafters IRC. Many of them have gone back to something else. Not because they didn't like it, just because there's enough headaches to deal with that it's untenable unless you have a fully dedicated machine that you can just kind of like hack away on it for a while. I need to make more content showing how to use Geeks correctly because I understand a lot of the problems people run into, and I can give solutions, but it just takes time. There's a way to explain it to people, I think, that makes sense. All right, so because I keep dancing around the issue, let's talk about the System Crafters Guild. If you don't know about it, where is it? Systemcrafters.store is where you actually see the page about it. So I basically set up my own thing. It's like what Glenna said. It's basically like it's like GitHub sponsors, but it's our own thing. It's part of the System Crafters ecosystem. Let's say it is a multi-tier type support thing, where you sign up, you get certain perks. Now, the perks aren't fully active at the moment because I haven't gotten back to that yet. But part of the idea is that if you are a guild member, you would get things like, special appearance in the IRC or the chat overlay on the screen here. There's like a private members only forum area, which I've done nothing with. It's another thing I need to do on the forum this year. Like a special profile icon on the forum, whatever, automatic merch discount. Your name on the supporter screen, which should be coming. Like I need to actually have a supporter screen that shows up. And then live stream chat benefits is what I mentioned before. There's other stuff that I want to do as well for the people who are members. But yeah, I haven't really been promoting it that much. Actually, probably you haven't heard about it at all since I created it a year ago. And that's my fault. But this is kind of the way that if you wanted to do like monthly support of the channel, you could do the guild. I'm going to end up doing a lot more with it this year because I think there's things that we could do that would be pretty interesting in terms of like having smaller group discussions about certain topics or, like a book club type thing where we are discussing like a certain book that we all want to read at the same time, maybe programming books or technical books in general. Haha. Benefit, your name will be sparkling. Just kidding, no idea. Something like that, yes. It could be something like that. I thought about different colors for names, or the names, the text sticking out a little bit more, or maybe like certain pop-ups, etc. Yeah, I know I should promote it more. I idiot, feel bad about promoting things for money, but reality is I gotta be able to make some money to keep doing this stuff. So yes, I'll be promoting the guild more, but it needs to be authentic. It needs to be something that is actually providing value to people. So that's sort of the thing that needs to happen here. And I really want to hear input from people. Like, there's a line where this is like okay, I'm donating to somebody that I like watching. there's a spectrum from that to this could be a place where you can learn stuff that might be valuable and worth money. So I want some ideas from people on that spectrum of like what would be valuable to you as like an add-on to what we already have in the community. We have the streams, obviously, we have the IRC, we have the forum where people can ask questions in public, whatever you want. But what is that extra thing that feels like it makes sense in a private member community that doesn't feel like people are getting ripped off? You know, it doesn't feel like people are losing out on something that is an essential part of the community. What is the extra thing that has value that that's worth it? I think more focused study on certain topics could be cool, right? Focused study and discussion. I've also thought about doing special live streams for people who are members of the guild. Maybe like sort of behind the scenes stuff, talking about sort of the state of what I'm doing or coming up with ideas for videos and projects and streams, etc. Not exactly 100% sure. Yeah, so Ashra says a private stream would be a thing. Yes, that definitely makes sense. Alejandro says a video on your start stream setup. I should do that actually at some point. It's kind of flaky. Alternate Vet says, so secret cult meetings? Yeah, well, the IRC is kind of like that already. Let's see. Paul says, I struggled with Geeks for about 6 months and I moved to Nix. I found it much easier, particularly as I had learned the concepts from Geeks. In the end, I went back to Gentoo. Have now put Geeks on it, now debugging stuff like network connections, etc. Still pain points. Yeah, there's definitely like the basic stuff is difficult. Trev says, we need more pay piggies up in here. I don't like thinking of people as pay piggies or pay pigs because I appreciate all of you, you know, even the people who aren't contributing monetarily, because we're all contributing to having a community of fun people to talk to and hang out with. So yeah, I'm not prioritizing monetized persons. A monthly private stream would be an option, for example, but we're entering a weird section there. Let's see. Because there are people who would pay a lot more than 30 a month for that, for a monthly private stream. I don't know. Not sure about that part. There's got to be something, though. Like, there's got to be some value. DistroTube has the subscriber chat streams. Yep, definitely that. I like that he puts the videos of those up. Casual guild video call could be something. Yeah, more of just me rambling would be cool. Gunn says David's best buacha recipes. Nah, I don't think anybody wants that. I'm not good at making Greek food. Like cargo cult programmers assemble. Well, definitely cult programmers. I don't know about the cargo cult. I'm gonna open this in a private browser. Yeah, we're not doing any anime dolls, okay? We're not doing anime dolls. We're not doing VTuber stuff, okay? Maybe a peer-to server, subscribers automatically have access to publish on it. Maybe. I mean, not sure. I've had a lot of different ideas, but none of them really pan out. But I am definitely interested to hear other thoughts people have, even on the IRC later or elsewhere on the forum. Trev says, what are your thoughts on paid mentorships? The person being mentored is paying the mentor. I'm already kind of doing that. I just haven't really promoted it much. And I don't have a page up that describes it. But I'll tell you right now, I have this thing called, two of them. It's the Emacs Accelerator Program and the Geeks Accelerator Program that are specific to like actually seeing where you are as a person right now in either Geeks or Emacs, where you want to be, and then having a series of meetings where I teach you basically everything you need to know directly about any of the topics related to that. And it's totally customized to you. So I'm doing that. I just haven't really mentioned it. And I'm going to mention it soon, but I'm not sure how it's going to go. So that's why I've delayed it a little bit. But yes, in general, like, you know, mentorship, I would like to do that because I really do like doing one-on-one coaching, training, knowledge dumping to people, because I think that there's actually value in it. People seem to get value out of it. So it is something that I would like to do more of. Paul says, reference mentoring, Prot is doing stuff like that. Prot is doing that, and in my opinion, Prot is not charging enough money. Prot should be charging at least 10x, maybe 5x, okay? Let's say 5x. He should be charging 5x per hour what he's charging currently. I know he wouldn't want to do that because he is a man of philosophical principles, but he needs to be compensated for his knowledge and his time. So, Prot, if you're watching this, charge more money, please. For the love of God, okay? Charge more money. It's very nice, but charge more money. Red Pixel says, some channels give access to videos sooner and non-paying like 2 weeks later. Yeah, but that would require me posting videos regularly. Nicolas says, would you be open to Emacs/Gal related feature bounties? Maybe. Trev says, I was thinking more of an internship thing, like being assigned some tasks to help out David, not coaching. I don't know, would people do that? I've heard of that before. It just seems kind of exploitative in a way. I don't really know if it is, but it just kind of seems weird to me. Nicolas says, that's entering gamification territory. Do you have any idea how bad that would be for me? Alternate Vet says, videos by David Will. Is it Christmas already? Yeah, we didn't get any for Christmas, though. Okay. Ashra says, private programming streams can be considered coaching depending on the actual size of the audience, as private coaching sessions can be set arbitrarily. Not that you have to do that, but it might split the community in a weird way. Yeah. I've heard of it as well, but didn't know if it's weird. The whole software industry is lacking mentorships. Like, real apprenticeships is something that would be nice, I think, in the software world. Really, there really needs to be a sense of apprenticeship. Because if you think about it, this is what happened in the old days. If you want to become a blacksmith, you go and work for a blacksmith directly and learn the trade from them, and then you forge ahead on your own blacksmith shop, some other part of the world, right? You learn the trade from somebody who actually cares, and not just get sent through a bunch of random courses, etc. It's just kind of hard to do that, and software engineering is so like fragmented in terms of platforms and types of applications to be developed, etc. That, I mean, sure, you can find somebody who knows exactly the kind of thing that you want to do and you work with them on it, but I don't know, it just seems difficult. I could be wrong. Somebody needs to be doing it. Okay. Like those Japanese guys that make katana blades. Honestly, I would rather make katana blades than be a programmer. Be kind of fun. So I think we got some feedback today. I appreciate all the ideas that people... Stack Overflow is what Ashra is talking about, SLS. So I got a lot of ideas here. We will try to execute on some of these. Let me know which things you would like to see more soon, because I have to make a stream next week and got to make some videos soon. I think I'm going to make a video on Helm pretty soon, because it is interesting. I've been using it. I've got some thoughts on it. More videos on Denote in org mode will probably be on the way. But that's all Emacs stuff. I need to think of some other things that are not Emacs. So probably some Guile stuff as well. I actually do want to make a video on Guile Hoot. But I need to consult with Dave and Christine and see when the best time to do that would be, because I know there's probably another big release coming out. So I should probably wait until the new stuff shows up. Pixel says, code review of paying subscribers pull request when there's a community project. Maybe. Nax says, the problem is you can take a 30-year software apprenticeship, or you can talk to Claude and be writing bad code in mere minutes. Yeah, that's true. You can be apprenticed by an AI and write very questionable code. That's definitely true. Hey, Judy. Nice to see you. Happy New Year. Okay, that's it, folks. Like I said, thank you very much for all the ideas and discussion. Had fun, just chatting, shooting the breeze. It's a good way to start the new year. I'm excited about the year. I think it's going to be really fun to continue on the path of system crafters. And let's see. Dave says new Goblins and Hoot releases coming this month before FOSDEM Geeks Day starts. Cool. I'll be waiting for that then. So yeah, let's do some stuff. Let's have fun. Let's make some projects. Let's learn some new things. Let's continue building this community. We've got a lot of really great people. I'm very thankful to all of you. I would say all of your names right now, but I would end up forgetting people. So thank you all. I really appreciate all of you. Thanks for your time and attention today. Feel free to always send me feedback through the usual channels, including my email, david@systemcrafters.net, IRC, forum, etc. I always love hearing feedback. So like I said, thank you again. And until next time, happy hacking. See ya.